This is the article right now. It has an ID, a name, and a description. Now let's add a unit of measure. So I create a new field. I say this is unit of measure, ID, and this is the unit of measure. I call it this is the base unit of measure because it belongs to the article. It's the one where you say, for example, something is measured in liters or kilogram or whatever. And the data type, let's see if we already have some IDs here. And we have already a string ID 3 here or string 50. Let's say that we now want to create a known data type, which is a unit of measure data type. So we say ID unit of measure. The text is unit of measure ID. It is visible in other projects as well. The Java class is a string, and we say the max number of characters is 5. We could have an irregular expression, but we don't need it here. And the other fields, I just make it a bit bigger, are only valid for decimal numbers. So this is a new data type, ID unit of measure, which I now can use. So going back to the entities, I now can say this base unit of measure is of type ID unit of measure. You see in this list always these items which you define inside of your own project are sorted first. So these are the ones coming from the base project. This is now one of your own project, ID unit of measure. Well, that's the first step. Now we want this unit of measure to be part of another table. So what I will now do is, and I don't record this because that's the same as with the article, I create a new entity unit of measure. So I stop here with recording and I wake up again when I have created the unit of measure. So here we are. I have created the unit of measure just as with the article. It has an ID text, it has an ID column here. It is ID unit of measure, it is part of the key, it has a name, which is a mandatory input. I created a list screen. I created a detail screen, which you see when you double-click a list. I already created 3 items here. Good. So this was exactly the same as with the article, now just with a different entity. Now the important thing, I want now to say that this article field, which is the unit of measure ID, that this binds to the unit of measure so that I can have a valid value selection, that there's a check for the unit of measure, so that it is bound from a key perspective. What do I have to do? The first thing I have to do is I have to set up a reference. A reference is just an abstract way how one property value finds its values. Yeah. So I create a new one. I say this is the reference to unit of measure. I want to be public visible in the other projects. So reference to unit of measure. Now, there are different types of references. There is reference by database mapping. We can reference property files. We can reference Java classes, which have a certain API. Let's keep with database mapping, because we know that the unit of measure is part of our database. So we now say, okie doke, we now reference the unit of measure table. We say if we select a value from there, then the ID of this unit of measure is the one that we want to reference. And we can also reference a text so that the typical combo boxes pop-ups are filled properly. We could also add more than one text by additional columns, by sorting them here. So a lot of other possibilities. Let's keep it to the basics at this point of time. Good. So the reference unit of measure tells there are unit of measures in the table in the entity unit of measures. The ID is the one which identifies unit of measure. This is the text. So now we can use this one in our entity definition. So in the article, in this property, I now can say the reference is reference unit of measure. And there's one important thing to check. This is a checkbox where in the processing we say that this reference not only serves as a proposal for unit of measures when doing the data input, but it also is used to check it. So if I input something in the unit of measure of this article, which is not part of this reference, there should be an error. So check against valid values. If you don't do this, then it's only a proposal. If you do this, then it's business logic. Good. We save this. We generate it. As I said, validation is always part of saving, so you don't have to explicitly press it after saving. Now things are generated, everything is successful. We deploy things so that they become part of the runtime. Yeah. And now let's go into the article again, because you see now the unit of measure ID has arrived on the left side. I go into the detail editor. In the detail editor, I see it looks at the moment the following way. That's the current status as we have it. And now I say, okay, I take this unit of measure. This time I take this field only without a row, and I put it behind the name. Now we see the base unit of measure is here. And if I click this one, then it automatically shows the ones which are given in the database definition. So if I select piece here, then I say speichern, then it says, okay, it's accepted. By the way, these are the other error messages, yeah, because they are not filled. If I, for example, say kilometer, which we haven't yet defined, then it automatically brings up a search and says, no, I cannot find kilometer things, yeah. So, and if I say validate or save, then it says, okay, this is not a valid field. Just to make sure, all these texts are now in German because I'm in a German system. They are all translated to English. I would have to change the localization of my engine. No issue. Okay, no. So I like what I see. The unit of measure is part of the data of the screen as well. So if I now go into the list of articles just to have the complete scenario, I show the ones which are here. Then I could say this eau de cologne is measured, of course, in liters. Yeah, and I save it here. Currently, I only added it to the details. I could also, of course, add it here to the list. No issue about this. Open list editor. So this is the list as it is. You see it, 1, 2, 3 columns. And I now could say I put unit of measure column in front of this one here. Now, I also could say the base unit of measure typically is quite short. So in this base unit of measure, I now could say, okay, let's define a width of 50 only. So in this case, I have a fixed width. Well, now base unit of measure is cut, so you can decide what you want to do. Anyway, this is how to influence directly the width. If you don't define it, then a standard width is used.